Hello, everyone. Tonight, I want to discuss how does a person's perspective influence their behavior and the decisions they make. I want to begin by asking you a simple question. Have you ever met two people who lived through the exact same situation, yet one became successful while the other became bitter? Think about that. Have you ever wondered why one person sees opportunity where another sees obstacles? While one person forgives while another holds onto resentment for decades. While one person walks away from conflict while another runs towards it. The answer often isn't intelligence, it isn't money, it isn't talent, it's perspective. Perspective is the lens through which we see the world. It's the story we tell ourselves about what happens to us. It influences how we think, how we feel, how we respond, and ultimately who we become. Every decision you make begins with a thought. Every thought is filtered through your perspective, and every behavior is a reflection of what you believe to be true. Tonight, I want us to explore one powerful truth. If you want to change your behavior, you must first change your perspective. So, what is perspective? Perspective is not simply what you see, it's how you interpret what you see. Two people can witness the same event and walk away with two completely different conclusions. One person sees failure, another sees education. One sees rejection, another sees redirection. One sees punishment, another sees accountability. Life isn't always determined by what happens to us. Many times, it's determined by how we interpret what happens. Your perspective is built long before you become an adult. None of us were born believing we weren't enough. Someone taught us that. Some of us grew up hearing, you'll never be anything. While others heard, you can accomplish anything. Some grew up in homes filled with encouragement. Others grew up surrounded by addiction, violence, abandonment, or fear. Those experiences began creating our perspective. If every adult in your life disappears, you begin believing people always leave. If every disagreement becomes violent, you may begin believing conflict always leads to pain. If you grew up seeing hustling celebrated while education is ignored, your perspective about success changes. Perspective is learned, but here's the good news. If it's learned, it can also be changed. You see, thoughts become behaviors. Psychologists often describe a simple pattern. Thoughts become feelings. Feelings become actions. Actions become habits. Habits become character. Character shapes destiny. Everything starts with a thought. Just imagine someone believes I'm worthless. That thought creates sadness. Sadness leads to isolation. Isolation leads to unhealthy coping. Eventually, people only see the behavior, but the behavior began with perspective. The prison of perspective, sometimes the greatest prison isn't made of concrete. It's made of beliefs. Some people are physically free, but mentally in prison. They believe I'm too old. I failed too many times. No one will ever trust me. Those beliefs quietly direct every decision. If you believe success is impossible, you stop trying. Not because success is impossible, but because your perspective convinced you it is. Understand this: fear creates decisions too. Fear is one of the strongest influences on perspective. Fear whispers, don't trust, don't love, don't forgive, don't try again. Fear convinces people to make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Some quit, some isolate, some become controlling, some become angry, Many aren't evil, they're afraid, and fear changes behavior. Trauma also changes perspective. Trauma teaches lessons. Unfortunately, trauma often teaches the wrong lesson. A child who experiences abuse may begin believing, I'm not safe. I can't trust anyone. I don't matter. See, those beliefs can follow them into adulthood. Then people will ask, why do they keep making bad decisions? Because they're making decisions from wounded perspectives. Healing isn't pretending trauma didn't happen. Healing is refusing to let trauma define every future decision. You see, accountability begins with perspective. One of the biggest differences between successful people and stagnant people is accountability. Some people say it happened because of them. Others ask, what can I learn? Victims focus on blame. Leaders focus on responsibility. That doesn't excuse what happened. It simply recognizes that while we cannot control every circumstance, we can choose how we respond. Now, growth begins the moment we stop asking, why me? And begin asking, now what? See, we got to stop with the victim mentality. Environment shapes perspective. Your environment constantly influences your thinking. If everyone around you believes crime is normal, that becomes your perspective. If everyone celebrates education, that becomes your perspective. If everyone speaks life, you will likely speak life. If everyone speaks negativity, negativity becomes familiar. This is why choosing your circle matters. You eventually think like those you constantly listen to. Now, perspective and relationships often fail because people don't see the same situation through the same lens. One partner hears correction, the other hears rejection. One sees independence, the other sees abandonment. One values communication, the other avoids conflict because conflict once meant violence. Perspective explains behavior. Now, understanding perspective creates compassion. Your perspective can determine leadership. Great leaders don't simply react, they respond. They gather information, they listen, they understand different viewpoints. A narrow perspective creates division, while a broader perspective creates unity. Communities grow when leaders seek understanding before judgment. Changing your perspective doesn't happen overnight. It requires intentional effort. Now ask yourself, what beliefs am I carrying? Who taught me these beliefs? Are they true? Are they helping me? Or are they keeping me stuck? Replace destructive beliefs with truthful, life giving ones. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow. Read, learn, seek wise counsel, practice gratitude, and be willing to admit when we've been wrong. Changing your mind isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the beginning of wisdom, the power of hope. Hope changes perspective. Hope says, my past isn't my future. Hope said, I can learn. I can heal. I can rebuild. I can forgive. Hope changes behavior because it changes expectation. People who believe tomorrow can be better often make better decisions today. Try this personal challenge. Before judging someone's behavior, ask yourself, what perspective might be driving it? And before excusing your own behavior, ask, what perspective am I refusing to challenge? Every day you have a choice. You can continue looking through yesterday's broken lens, or you can choose a new perspective. one built on truth, one built on growth, one built on accountability, and one built on hope. Before I wrap this up, I want to leave you with this thought. Your life is moving in the direction of your strongest belief. If you believe you're defeated, you will live defeated. If you believe you're capable, you'll begin acting capable. If you believe healing is possible, you'll pursue healing. Perspective influence behavior. Behavior creates habits. Habits shape character. Character determines legacy. You may not have chosen the circumstances that shape your perspective, but you can choose whether they continue to control your future. Don't let yesterday's pain become tomorrow's prison. Choose a perspective that encourages growth instead of fear. Responsibility instead of excuses. Compassion instead of judgment. Hope instead of despair. Because when your perspective changes, your decisions begin to change. When your decisions change, your behavior changes. And when your behavior changes, your life begins to change. Thank you. And may each of us continue to grow in wisdom, compassion, accountability, and hope as we shape the future one decision at a time. Good night.